Okay, so I think the Arne Slot thing is about to get really interesting, and I'm going to tell you why in just a second. It is a pretty fascinating day if you're a lip reader. Should we put it that way? And there are a couple of different articles around lip reading Arne Slot and what it is that they think he said. What it is that you think he said post-game. Let me know in the comments below. I'm not 100% sure that what I've got on this phone is actually correct, but I guess we'll find out. It looked like a lot longer what he said to Michael Oliver, but Michael Oliver initially, and I think it was in the statement of media, the PGML, MOL, the Premier League, or the FA include words to the effect of him basically saying something profane and something abusive towards the referee. We'll find out. Let's just look at what Jeremy Freeman, who was employed by Sport Bible to lip read the footage after the game, said. Apparently he said this to the assistant, right? That's not a push. That's not it's an effing disgrace. If you go and watch that again, Slot shouted an assistant referee. To the other linesman, he then said, well done. So maybe one of them pleased him, maybe one of them didn't. And then with Michael Oliver, apparently he sarcastically told the referee, good game. Now, weirdly, and I do think this is a little bit strange, I felt like his phrasing looked a lot longer from that. Maybe that's all they could get from that, and maybe in the other post-match report, we will actually see what the referee thought he said. Again, initially, they included this idea that he said something abusive, he said something profane towards the referee, and later those words were removed from that initial press release. They were removed from the tweet and they were removed from the article. Critically, and that was reported by James Pearce of The Athletic. Anyway, after the red card that Arne Slot was then given, he then was said to have said, sure, you give me a red for that. I will check it out for later. Me and you, yeah? Which I love. Sure. Give me a red card, we'll talk after? Slot is set to be banned from the touchline. Now, I'm not sure that he is banned for the Wolves game. There isn't yet confirmation that he will be banned for the Wolves game because he still has to have the hearing. I think they need to submit evidence within the couple of days after the game. Liverpool will then get time to then submit counter evidence to that. There'll then be a hearing done around that. So, that's going to be a prolonged process in the first place. And really, you're innocent until proven guilty, so he's going to be able to be at a couple of these games. Possibly, though, not on the touchline for the Man City game if he is found to be guilty of any of these things. Now, of course, you could say that there is a bit of back and forth between the two sides on this one. Obviously, Arne Slot, not the only manager to run over to a referee and say something to him after the game. Has Michael Oliver been slightly sensitive? Again, I said in my video earlier in the day, hey, what's the benefit of going over to the referee after the game? You only end up serving to alienate the referees, make them feel further away, possibly submit them to some kind of imitation. No, if you are particularly intimidation, if you are intimidating towards someone, is that ever going to really benefit you in any way? I don't really think so. I think you can clearly see that Liverpool were angry about this result because they felt that the referee had done serially a pretty poor job, and they're not the only team to feel this way. There have been a number of clubs who felt that Michael Oliver specifically has done a poor job this season, and maybe now the referees and the PGML and anyone else a part of that body are particularly sensitive to any kind of criticism, meaning that if someone does come over and say something, then they're very likely to react in this way. I think we probably have to say it's not just the Premier League and Oliver and everyone else who has to act in a respectful, I want to say, faultless way here. Arne Slot and Liverpool equally have to do that, and it was a very fractious atmosphere. I think the referee did. Ultimately, it's not really the referee's responsibility to control all the players after the final whistle is gone. They have to bear some responsibility, which is why some of them got sent off. But also, the Premier League has to bear some responsibility. Stewards have to bear some responsibility. The players themselves, the clubs themselves have to bear some responsibility. That's partially why I think some people may get fined in the closing stages of this investigation. I also think that, are we really saying that what Arne Slot got a red card for was sarcastically saying good game? That leaves such a subjective analysis of what a manager says, and if you can get sent off saying good game, are we really saying that, can you just dispute whether he was being sarcastic or not? Was he just being friendly towards the ref? The referee then says, well, I don't take it that way. you're suddenly opening up a whole can of worms with this. And I think they will not be thanking Michael Oliver for his reaction, possibly his overreaction to what it was that Arne Slot said. Not only that, because now on social media, of course, there are a bunch of people putting out a load of clips. There are a bunch of people unhappy with Oliver. Oliver, of course, has been involved in a series of questionable decisions over the last couple of seasons, which have handed a few results to competitors of either Arsenal or Liverpool and put them in more less advantageous positions, should we say. So overall, a little bit more frustrated by Oliver than kind of pleased with him. And I think Liverpool felt that there was a series of poor decisions last night. If you tot up all of the results, if you top up all of the fouls and every other touch on the ball, there were definitely a few times when McAllister and a couple of other players will have commented to the coach, I didn't even touch that guy, and they got themselves a free kick. What is actually going on out there? The frustration around this is now palpable. Other players, of course, have said some other things. Today, Ibrahima Konate fan accounts. I'm not sure it is actually Ibrahima Konate. Before I went live on this, Konate, what claims to be an official Konate account, retweeted something. I don't think it's official. It has all the manga and everything else on there, though, so I would be interested to know if it actually is. And can you get in trouble for retweeting something? I think you can. After the red card, the Liverpool boss said, sure, give me a red for that. I will check it out later. I will check it out for later. I don't understand what that quite means. If you're a professional lip reader, the sentences have to make sense, guys. Virgil van Dijk then expressed his disappointment. Other people have been reacting to things on social media. I actually really thought today that the interview that Harvey Elliott did post-game with the Everton fan channel was actually a really level-headed one, probably showing how Liverpool are going to use this and spin it into a positive, not using it as something to only react against, but also as something that they can use as part of the story for the season, as they can say, hey, well, you know, we didn't play our best. We do have to react to that. We do have to play better than that. We are disappointed by our own performance. Of course, particularly Virgil van Dijk disappointed, along with Ibrahima Konate, about his own performance against the lone Beto up front. Beto putting them both in difficult positions at different moments, and his runs certainly will be things that will be studied in the coming weeks. Possibly Liverpool at this point frustrated more so than anything because they knew this was a game in hand. They knew this could put light between them and everyone else in the Premier League. And they knew that, you know, the impact of Everton and beating Everton would be something they could kick on from. And essentially, build-up of games and results over this time would benefit them in terms of just, keeping the momentum going. Arne Slot knows, and I think he's slightly naive, but he knows that going up to the ref isn't the best idea, but it's slightly naive to think you can just walk up to the ref and say anything. I'm not saying he has said anything, but particularly against a particularly sensitive referee, I think what we are seeing here is it would be ideal if the way that you spoke to the referees was respectful. But clearly, the referees themselves do not respect the process. Clearly, the referees themselves do not respect the managers. And clearly, more recently, the referees themselves have been shown to be disrespectful off camera towards other people, or on camera, but in private towards other people. And now there is a very fractious relationship between everyone on one side and the referees on the other. And I want to say, we're seeing it spill over into the public. Before, it felt like it was a bit more in the shadows, a bit more private. Now there are people who are much more willing to speculate on conspiracy theories, why teams are losing, why teams don't get results, why teams don't get decisions. We always speculated before, but there was very little evidence to actually back these things up, apart from managers, referees, and a couple of other people every now spilling over into public. Now, this feels like much more of a kind of very obvious and possibly reputation-damaging issue for the Premier League. The problem is the Premier League globally really cares about its reputation. It really cares about being the respected premier division in the world and the division that people look towards to set the standards. It's not setting the standards in offside. It's not setting the standards in VAR. It's not setting the standards in refereeing. It's not setting the standards in terms of overall product right now, because the product is being damaged by these flashpoints. There was already enough drama in that game. A drama was going to happen either way in a Merseyside derby, but the problem is that in trying to manage the drama and tell people how to be dramatic, the celebrations, this celebration is acceptable, this one isn't acceptable. We want you to do this. We want you to be passionate. We want you to play hard. We don't want you to be passionate and play too hard. We're going to punish you for it spilling over, but we're not going to punish other people. We're going to retrospectively punish some players and managers, but not retrospectively punish others. We will monitor some people's social media, but not others. We'll Some fans will be the problem, some won't. Sometimes you'll get Michael Oliver, sometimes you won't. It's so inconsistent, it's so frustrating for fans, it's so difficult and logic defying broadly that it makes it very easy for it all to get promoted on social media, make big numbers, make it easy to sell into big brands, but not necessarily a satisfying long-term project and product that people are invested in. Don't forget, that's what they want here. They want a long-term project and product that people are invested in, that people will come back and watch time after time after time because they know that they're going to get something interesting to watch. That game was already interesting without Michael Oliver. That game was already, if anything, it was less interesting because of Michael Oliver, because there were multiple times where he let too many things go last night. And I think Arne understands that. Understands like the 1% differences in these games have either drawn or lost Liverpool this game. And he knows that the analysis will go, because his team didn't particularly make too many should we say clear-cut chances, apart from the chances they actually scored, and even then, some of those felt like half chances. Because he didn't make too many of those chances, and because of the way his team play and get analysed, very often people are going to say that was a poor game from Liverpool, whereas actually, we can play into the respectful control side of things much more easily. Liverpool do want to control the games, and respectfully they want to control them. It's not about degrading the opposition, it's about putting them in a position of benefit. Why is it that Liverpool and everyone else are left waiting? Why is it that that is not just part of the public discourse? Why is it that we can't just hear what was said on the referee's mic? We know those things are recorded. We know that there is a referee's report written after the game, all those kind of things. Why can't we see those things? Why isn't it more transparent? Why is it left to have redacted elements? And well, you can see this time when what we said on the microphones, but you can't see that time of what we said on the microphones. Why is that so difficult for us to get as the public, who ultimately are part of the product, but are also interested in the product and should have ultimate transparency as what is going on? Why? I guess, ultimately the Premier League want to make as much money and we're all interested in the product. But the mistake here that they seem to make is they think we're invested in the Premier League, we're actually just invested in the football. Does that make sense? Both ways it goes around. I think the Premier League ultimately would benefit from being a little bit more transparent, should we say, with the public. And I don't even think that's... Yes, I'm good, thank you, babe. Yeah. And ultimately, things are going to go, red card for that there, mate. You can't just come in and ask if I'm all right, especially sarcastically. Yeah, anyway, I'll chat to you guys in a little while. Much love. Bye.